Hello. So we are in Parashat Chukat. Most time when commentators speak on Parashat Chukat, they will speak about the command, the fact that this specific command is not something that is logic to the human understanding, that's something that we cannot comprehend, we cannot grasp as human, and sometimes there are commands or there are mitzvot, they're like law, like chukah, like chok, that we just need to follow through, not asking questions and not expecting our brain to start resolving it in means of human logic, because there isn't any human logic there. This is a divine logic, and the divine logic, as we all know, is a completely different story than our logic. So in this portion, I'm not going to touch this matter. I'm going to touch the three brothers, the Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. Those brothers are responsible. They were the leadership of Moshe was the known leader, but Aaron and Miriam, in a way, were kind of his co-founders of this nations, and they brought to the table miraculous things, a huge help, assistance, and we're going to talk about those things. So we all know probably about the three huge miracles that Israel had encountered in the desert. They had the divine bread, the heavenly food that fell from the sky. They had the clouds of honor, the clouds of glory, and they had the divine well. Now, in Chazal Midrashim related to this Parashat Shavua, to this portion, and also in the Zohar, it is told that the clouds of honor were thanks to Aaron the priest, the divine well was thanks to Miriam the prophet, and the man, the heavenly bread, was thanks to Moshe the leader. And in this portion, we have the death of Miriam in the Kadesh desert. And then later on, almost immediately, we also have the death of Aaron the priest in Mount Hor. And so when Aaron and Miriam are dying, the clouds of glory, the clouds of honor, and the well of water were taken away from the people, later on to be restored by Moshe. But nevertheless, for now, those two are gone. Now, before we will dive deeper to those three things, the man, the well, and the clouds of honor, let's talk about the Hasidic way of observing the Torah, because we will connect those things. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe says about the Torah that it's from the name of Hora'ain. Hebrew, the word Hora'ah translates to teachings or teaching, meaning that the whole matter of the Torah is to be a teaching method, an internal teaching method, if you will, that a man needs to practice in day-to-day life. Or in other words, not only the do's and don'ts of the Torah, the commandments that we know as written things, that not only those are teachings for us, but also the story itself. The Torah story is there to teach us lessons which can assist us walk through life in a more dignified way, or a more tuned with the higher ethics and morals of the divine. So we can see that the do's and don'ts sometimes can come when we look at this story. When we will look at this story, we will see that sometimes the do's and don'ts come as a narrative and not necessarily always written as a command. And so the story itself of the Torah, only when obviously looking at it inside layered teachings, of course, is actually some sort of a human manual we need to follow. So let us take a look at the story then. Let us take a look at, have the focus on the three details or aspects of this portion layout. We have the clouds of honor, the clouds of glory, the divine well, and the heavenly bread, the food, the man. Now, the clouds of honor defended children of Israel and protected them from the outside world. They protected them from storms, from winds, from enemies, from snakes and scorpions in the desert. They even lowered for them the mountains as they walked, and some commentators even said that the clouds of honor ironed their clothing. The man was what they ate during their journey in the desert. When eating the man, they could tasted every flavor they craved and any food they desired. It was a miraculous food. The well was their source of water. Now, aside from the fact that we obviously know that in every culture water symbolizes life, the water here, we know that the water in this well, according to the Zohar, spreads to 12 or 13 springs, allowing each tribe to have its own source of water and avoid power struggle within the camp and among the people. And so we understand that the wheel of water distributes the source of living to all parts of the body and also helps keeping the peace. Now, when it comes to the Torah, at its essence, we have all those three aspects in it. The Torah, just like the man, gives us a food, a spiritual food, spiritual nutrition. It feeds us internally. The Torah, just like the clouds of honor, protects us and defends us from unwelcome occurrences or incidents from the outside world. And last, the Torah, just like the divine well, as we know, the Torah is compared to water in general. That aside of the obvious reason for water giving life, it's also enabling life to be transmitted to every part of the body, to every organs of the body. So if you're looking at an individual material physical body, then the organs of the body. But if you are looking at the spiritual body, then there is a notion here as well. Also, we all know that all of us, all humankind, is one big body that is from parts, that has its parts. So we can see that the Torah gives the person better defined inner aspect of self, that is protected from the outside, that is nurtured from the inside, and that have the ability of living and vividness of life. Now, if we go deeper about the man, we know that the Torah, when it comes in the form of the man, it must be comprehensive and become internalized as a divine food in order for it to radiate onto one person's behavior, whether his behavior to his relatives, to his family, to his friends, whatever, or to generations to come even. But it needs to be internalized in a deep way. So, and now go to the man. We know that the man was delivered to the children of Israel in differently from one person and another. There were good people and bad people, right? There are always good people and bad people. So the good people received the man to their doorsteps. Let's say they received it without the need to effortless. It was effortless thing to receive the man for them. But the wicked or the bad people needed to go by themselves and collect it from the outside. It was a differences. So just as there are differences in the way that the man was delivered to the people, so there are differences between people in regard to their ability to grasp the internally or the internal or the understandings of the notions of the Torah in a more complex level. Nevertheless, when it comes to the clouds of glory and the will of water, here there is no difference between people. Everybody can receive the water, and everybody can be protected from the outside world. So just as the clouds of glory encompass and protect the entire camp, all the people, regardless of whom they were as individuals, so too did the Torah encompass the people, and surrounds the believer from the outside harms and dangers. The Torah protects everyone. The Torah belongs to everybody. Um, if a person goes by the notions of the Torah or the Torah instructions, he can pass through the great desert of life or the great wilderness of living, without being worried about the dangers within it, because he is protected. So in order for us then to be protected by the clouds of glory and be nurtured by the divine bread, we need to consume the water in the well, which are the Torah teachings. And just as water descends from the highest place to the lowest place, so does the Torah dressed to become understood to more earthly or human understandings. Or, in other words, the greatest wisdom can be found in the most ugliest instrument, we can say. So everyone, no matter who or he or she is, can discover both the divine well and the man and the clouds of glory during their life. Moshe, as we know, was the nurtured of all the children of Israel. Aaron was the peace-loving man. He loved all people. Miriam was devoted to the children of Israel ever since she was a child. And after the passing of all three of those three brothers, two brothers and a sister, they went with Israel from Egypt now to right before they entering the promised land. And now the passing of Aaron and Miriam is traumatizing to the people, because those beautiful, miraculous aspects of divine will of water and clouds of honor just disappeared, and they're no longer protected and no longer have their source of water. And Moshe, as the leader now, began some sort of a new work or a new position. This transformation of Moshe was due to the circumstances. Now he had to, in a way, restore the clouds of glory and return the divine will, but he even had a more urgent thing to do, because the clock was ticking for Israel to enter the land and start wars with the nations in it. In this portion, we have a transition from a period to a period. We have a change from a divine, miraculous leadership by outside aspects like the will and the clouds, to a more earthly one. Israel needs now to do things on their own. They need to fight and go to war. Literally, something now has changed. So it's no longer fast-paced. The children of Israel, once they cry a bit to Moshe. Moshe talks to God. God gives them what they want, maybe punishing them a little bit, but nevertheless give them what they want. Now they need to work hard for it. They need to pray. They need to vow. They need to go to war. The natural way comes into practice now, and it brings with it new responsibility or new type of behavior of the people and also of Moshe. Therefore, this is a stage of difficulty when we talk about this week. The death of Miriam and Aaron left a great void within the people, and definitely within the heart of their only surviving brother Moshe, that now needs to carry all this on his shoulders all by himself. So suddenly he also facing with the people wars. We can look at wars as the forces of impurity outside of Israel who are looking to subdue them after hearing the divine supervision that they had before was vanished and supposedly stopped. Kings starting to hear about the fact that they don't have the clouds of honor anymore and they don't have the well. We know that from the king of Arad. He heard a rumor, it says in the scriptures, and then he went to war with them, he fought with them, he had a lot of captives. The children of Israel then prayed to Hashem and make vows to him for order to him to help them to conquer this, to win the other wars, to not have casualties in their wars. So until now they were treated by a divine great miracles. They had no need with the natural world. But now it's different. Now they are to discover the victory in real life. The transition to a natural experience has a huge difficulty for them. But it's not all bad news, though, because the moment Moshe was enabling himself to recover from the loss of his siblings, in terms of adjusting himself to this new circumstantial playground that made by the above intentionally, meaning the minute that he perceived his new role, the forces that were from the outside, the divine will and the clouds of honor, are now to be restored as inner forces. When he understood that those were manifestations of the divine from the outside, but can only reappear from the inside, and become an actual inner position of force for him and the children of Israel in order for them to win all the wars. So this conception he needed to obtain alongside his obvious devotion to the children of Israel and to Hashem, to God, and plus his destined role to take them inside this country. He makes it without hesitations right away. So what does it teaches us? What does this story teaches us? What is it that gonna happen to us this week? Where do we find ourselves here? So in time, we sometimes have the parameters changing. We sometimes see circumstances changing for us. The loss of the siblings was not only a human loss, it was a spiritual trauma for the people, and we will probably feel something echoing from those old ancient days in our life right now, in this present, but because those two brought Moshe, brought with them to Moshe leadership, let's say, an enormous forces that now supposedly are gone. So, but still Moshe was, and us as well, we need to remember the faithful shepherd that Moshe was. Meaning he didn't receive his role for nothing. He was the great shepherd, the great leader, a true leader. And a true leader sometimes deal with things that are not really in his role or under his responsibility, or he deals with changing circumstances. The field is constantly changing. A leader does not deals only with the work of the hardships that belongs to him, but rather at a time of necessity, like those time we are facing when it's needed. A true leader will carry out on his shoulders an extra roles or additional matters, more responsibilities in general. Now in the Tanya, it says that every man of Israel has within it the divine spark of Moshe Rabbeinu, the divine spark of Moshe the leader. And this is given as a teaching of the Torah. So that is from the actual story. Even though every one of us constantly trying to define our role within family, among friends, co-workers, colleagues, in order for us to become true leader, we need to put aside our own interest, and we need to look at the duty ahead that was given to us by the Creator, by the divine will. This week we must find the way to restore the well of water and the clouds of honor, but from the inside. This will eventually deliver us with the strength to enter the land of Israel and fight to the most horrifying and dreading forces. Because we know that Moshe and Israel, after praying to Hashem and after making their vow, they had they win the struggles or the wars against Og, the king of Mashan, and Sichon, the king of Heshbon. Both those kings were known as giants that no one wanted to even come near them, not to speak of going to war against them. And they won, and both of those kings were defeated. So again, there are situations and circumstances that that will lead to some sort of a change within our life this week, strong forces that can come against us and that we will have to manage, tame, or conquer in order to continue. But still, we have the duty to make the right choices, to become the leaders that Moshe was, not always by matter of choice, but as a matter of necessity. Our behavior is indeed a natural one within life, within reality, but our behavior and our inner strength, its sources, it doesn't take its sources or its vitality from nature or from the world, from this world, not from what revealed to us. Our behavior takes its sources from a place of eternity, from a divine, from the heavenly, from a place of divine mission and divine presence. So there is a gap between divine observation and human observation, and we must remember that, because something that will appear to us as traumatic or as messing up everything and traumatizing us can actually be a good thing when time passes, and at this point we don't really know how to look at it. So if taking our first notion about the Torah mitzvot that are within the story itself, we will then learn the lesson that there is no point in fearing dangers and in dreading snakes and scorpions in the desert, or even giant kings that come to our doorsteps as enemies. Everything is a story, and the story is dressed, and all those enemies approaching to us and all those difficulties we may or may not have, still is, in a way, we have, as long as we have the streaming of the as long we have the Torah streaming within our veins as the water from the Miriam well, and also the Torah surrounding us like the divine clouds of honor, clouds of glory, then no one can harm us, and we are absolutely protected and safe by the divine. For he is the high and real true leader, and he will take us to wherever we need to go, winning our wars against those giants, conquering whatever we need to conquer from the outside, within ourselves, our fears. Everything will happen just according to the plan. The clouds of honor and the divine well are vanished from the outside, but still have their echo from the higher realms and assist us in helping us in our way to the promised land. So have a great Shabbat and Chodesh Tov, meaning a good month, because we just starting the Tammuz months, and have a great weekend.